Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. All right, first of all, happy winter. Today is the first day of winter according to the lunar calendar. It's called 冬至, the arrival of winter. It's the day when yin is at its peak and will go down, and yang is rising. So it's the day when yin and yang alternate. It signifies a new beginning or some changes. So traditionally, people eat dumplings, worship the heavens, and also celebrate it with some gifts and so on. With everything that's happening in China, I don't know how many Chinese are celebrating the arrival of winter because it's going to be a difficult winter. I just wish everyone a safe, warm, and healthy winter. Okay, so this winter is going to be difficult for many Chinese, including Xi Jinping. In today's session, I will talk about what makes him sleepless at night. First of all, let me ask you, what does a CCP leader fears the most? Well, losing his power. Uh, let's take a look at several developments that make Xi Jinping worry about losing his power. So we'll talk about the Indian border conflict. We'll talk about the rumors of Hu Jintao's son. Then we'll talk about the absence of his officials at an important economic meeting. And then last but not least, we'll talk about the impact of the pandemic. All right, so on December 9th, Indian and Chinese soldiers engaged in a clash in the border area of Taiwan in the Indian state of, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Arunachal Pradesh. The Indian military and Indian media first broke the news. I actually have a video that I can share with you. The video isn't very clear, but hold on, let me show this. Yeah, I'll play this. I won't play the audio, but I think that's the end of the video. So the Chinese went quiet for 3 to 4 days until the 13th, right? Because it happened on the 9th. And at a foreign ministry press conference, spokesman Wang Wenbin said, the current situation on the Sino-Indian border is stable, and both sides have been maintaining open communication on border-related issues through diplomatic and military channels. And then nothing was said from the PLA side, except a short message that was posted on a WeChat through a WeChat account that's owned by the Western. I think it's owned by the Western Theater, military theater of the PLA, and it's very brief. It just has 2 sentences. No Chinese military reported. No Chinese media report that. And so here's the question: if the CCP's military commission had authorized this provocative move or operation, it should have condemned the Indians in a high-profile manner and set off a patriotic campaign. But no, we didn't see that. And instead, the CCP kept an unusually low profile. On the same day, Indian Defense Minister said at the Indian Parliament that the Chinese forces tried to unilaterally change the status quo and encroach on India's line of actual control, and also reported that no Indian soldiers were seriously injured. And the troops from both sides withdrew from the area soon after. So judging from the responses from both sides, it's unlikely that the Indians provoked this incident. And it's obvious that it's the Chinese soldiers who provoked it. But this incident happened on day 2 of Xi Jinping's visit to Saudi Arabia for the Sino-Arab summits, right? He attended 2 summits. So the question is, why did Xi Jinping want to start a clash with India while he was away? So it's highly unlikely that he wanted to remotely control a conflict with India when he's on a diplomatic mission. So then we have the question, did Xi Jinping know about this beforehand? So one analyst believes that some individuals within the Chinese PLA wanted to create troubles when Xi Jinping was away. And because military experts say that starting a war in harsh winter at such high altitude isn't a good idea for either side. So by design, the clash wasn't likely to grow into a real military confrontation, but it's newsworthy enough, right, to create some troubles for Xi Jinping. Um, and now, after the 20th Party Congress, the CCP's Central Military Commission is tightly in Xi Jinping's hand, and it's impossible that the commission's 6 other members, who are his loyalists, started a military operation without him being aware and while he's away. So Xi Jinping's 2016 military reforms, during that reform, he reshuffled the major military regions. However, the Tibetan military region and the Xinjiang military region, those 2 regions were retained. And these 2 military regions are under the leadership of the PLA's Army Command during peace times and are under the Western Military Theater during wartime. And the southern Tibetan region where this conflict occurred is in the jurisdiction of the Tibetan military region. So the analysts believe that, because it was not wartime, the Western military theater couldn't have initiated this. But however, I mentioned earlier on the WeChat, the PLA WeChat account was from the Western military theater. So it looks like the Western military theater was involved later on to play a coordinating role after it happened. So whatever the case, it's clear that something went wrong within the PLA while Xi Jinping was gone. Right? And it involves the Western theater and also the Tibetan military region. The CCP delayed response with statements that dragged on for days. And this suggests that Xi Jinping was likely not aware of the incident, and the whole apparatus, the CCP apparatus, waited for him to return from his Middle Eastern trip and then respond. And then after he learned about it, he wanted this incident to disappear as quickly as possible. And that's why no media reported it. And then both spokesmen, downplayed the incident. Now, if you look at it, Xi Jinping has been actively promoting and demoting generals at the top level in the past years, and has built a military commission comprised of his loyalists. But does he have full control of the PLA at the regional level? It doesn't look like it. And the worst is that they openly create troubles for him when he's away. And I think this may keep Xi Jinping sleepless at night. Okay, so that's case number 1. And case number 2 involves Hu Jintao's son. Let me share a picture. You are very familiar with this picture, right? So on December 17th, a government-affiliated website announced that the son of Hu Jintao, Hu Haifeng, you have a picture of him, was going to be promoted to the party secretary of the capital city of Henan province, Zhengzhou. And the news caught a lot of attention in China. But it was removed swiftly. And local police in Zhengzhou opened a case to investigate the false news on the social media account that made this announcement. Hu Haifeng is 50 years old and has been the party secretary of Lishui city in Zhejiang for 4 years. So it's about time that he, gets promoted. So to be the head of a provincial capital city is definitely a promotion for him. The news caught people's attention because people are aware Xi Jinping's removal of his father, of Hu Jintao. However, the social media that here's the post. The social media that broke the news was a government-owned social media account in Shandong province, in a different province, not in Henan. And so the Henan police declared that they're going to investigate into a government-affiliated media in another province. So you have two provincial governments fighting over a rumor about Xi Jinping promoting Hu Jintao's son. And some people believe that the rumor was created to embarrass Xi Jinping because it's not true. And the regime must come out to deny it. And this denial will once again remind people of Xi Jinping's removal of the senior Hu at the party congress, which Xi Jinping probably want people to forget. It just shows you that the political fight is getting at the local provincial level. So that's case number 2. And let me come back. The third case is from December 15th to the 16th. Xi Jinping hosted the Economic Work Conference. I covered that in one of my live stream, I believe this past Saturday. This conference was originally postponed due to COVID, and then it was put back on schedule, but it was reduced from 3 days to 2 days. This is the annual planning meeting for China's economy for the next year. A Hong Kong media, 明报, a print media, found a number of senior officials within the central leadership were absent from this important meeting. So I trimmed down the list of names because they're really long, and you probably don't care about everyone, but I kind of kept all the people that I think people in the West are interested in. So, for example, the Minister of Natural Resources. So here's a list of people who should be at the meeting but didn't attend. The Minister of Natural Resources, Wang Guanghua, the Governor of China's Central Bank, Yi Gang, Chairman of China's Banking Regulatory Commission, Guo Shuqing, Chairman of China's Security Regulatory Commission, Yi Huiman, Auditor General, right, Hou Kai, the Director of the General Administration of Market Supervision, Luo Wen, and Director of the Development Research Center of the State Council, Lu Hao. And these people are holding key, economic, positions that runs China's economy, and their absence is just, sends a message. And there are more people. So, for example, here's another list of people who should be attending the meeting as well. So, Ding Xuedong, the Executive Vice Secretary General of the State Council, Jiang Xingzhi, Executive Vice Minister of the Central Organization Department, Liu Jianchao, Minister of the Liaison Department, Liu Jianyi, the Head of State Council Taiwan Affairs Office, Liu Xiaoxing, Director of the Central Organization Office, Tang Dengjie, Minister of Civil Affairs, Tang Renjian, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. So you have all these minister-level officials who didn't make it to the meeting. And some of these people may retire next year. So maybe you say that's why they didn't, feel they didn't make it to the meeting. Well, in the CCP's organization, it's not the case, right? Like Liu He, the 2 vice premiers who are definitely going to retire, Sun Cunluan and Liu He, they both attended the meeting. So even though they are going to retire and their rankings are much higher, but they made it to the meeting. So, and then we have more. And also the military the two vice chairmen of the military commission um, also were not present, right? But if you say, well, maybe the military people are not needed for economic meetings, but then the defense minister Wei Fenghe and other members of the military commission, like Liu Zhengli and Miao Hua, you know, um, were present. So you have some military people there, some are not. And also, none of the vice chairmen of the People's Congress were there. And the head of the Supreme Court. I mean, all these people who typically, you know how when when Xi Jinping holds a meeting, it's like a full house. Everyone goes. That's how CCP conducts their meeting. So you have all these people that heads up important organs within the government. They missed the meeting. And so people are asking, are they sick with COVID? Um, so here's another thing. So China's National Health Commission held a video conference in the afternoon of the 21st. That's yesterday. The meeting was chaired by Li Bing, Deputy Director of the National Health Commission. Right, the meeting minutes was leaked and circulating on the internet, and this meeting, it went on for 1.5 hours. It started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and finished at 5:30. The meeting minutes was very detailed, and it said that on December 20th, which is the day before the meeting, today is Thursday, so that was the 20th was Tuesday. China had 37 million new COVID cases, accounting for 2.62% of the total population. That's on one day. Okay, on one day, almost 3% of China's total population got COVID. And the number was higher than the daily cases on the 18th and the 19th and continues to rise. And the meeting said that from December 1st to the 20th, 248 million people, or 17.56% of the total population were infected. Of China's 31 provincial level administrative regions, Beijing and Sichuan ranked number 1 and number 2, with cumulative infection rates reaching over 50%, meaning that these two, in Sichuan province and in Beijing, because Beijing is a direct municipal city, so it ranks the same as a province. So in Beijing and Sichuan, more than half of the people have already been affected. But Beijing leads Sichuan in terms of the total infection rate. And then the regions that have reached between 20 to 50% infection rates were Tianjin, which is also a direct municipality, Hubei, Henan, Hunan, Anhui, Gansu, and Hebei province. So the province that has the highest infection rate, meaning the percentage of total cases to total population, is Sichuan. And the city that has the highest infection rate is Chengdu, which is the capital city of Sichuan. By the way, Shanghai, right, China's largest and wealthiest city, ranks number 4 in terms of infection rate after Chengdu, Lanzhou, and Hefei. The meeting also said that with the upcoming Chinese New Year holiday, the situation will be more severe as infections will radiate from provincial capitals to mid-size and small cities, and then to the rural areas. So I'm just giving you kind of the very high level rundown of the meeting minutes that came out yesterday. And then 2 days ago, an internal meeting minutes from Beijing's 301 hospital was leaked. Now, the 301 hospital is a military hospital. It's probably, I think it is the best hospital in China, because it's the hospital where all the high-ranking government officials get treated. Their goal is to help the senior leaders to live to the age of 150. So it's the most important hospital in China. So this hospital had an internal meeting, and the meeting minutes was released. It said, for this discussion, I'm just only going to share with you some of the things. So it said, um, for elderly COVID patients in Beijing, 10% develop serious symptoms that require um, ICU type of medical attention. And for young COVID patients, that number is only 0.5%, so half of a percent. So it's 10% for elderly COVID patients and half of a percent for young patients that require um, like intensive medical attention. So now let's do some calculation. So now we have Beijing has 22 million population, right? And people over the age of 60 is over 20%. So you have about 4.4 million uh, elderly people in Beijing. And so according to one of the data released by Weibo, up until yesterday, over like 72% of people in Beijing have been infected. So if you do some math, you could say the number of elderly in Beijing that have been infected is about 3.17 million. Now, if you apply the percentage, 10% of them require intensive care. That means right now you have 316,000 elderly citizens in Beijing who require ICU type of medical care. And this does not include the half percent of the young people. I mean, if you include the young people, that's another 63,000. But let's just say that, over 300,000 elderly people. Now, how many ICU beds does Beijing have? On November 22nd, a spokesperson from the State Council said that China on average, its ICU bed is 3.7 per 100,000. But that's China's average. And we know Beijing Beijing and Shanghai is the best equipped with medical establishment. So let's say Beijing's number is twice as high. So let's say Beijing has 8 ICU beds per 100,000 population. So if you calculate that by the 22 million population, so right now Beijing has at most 1,820 ICU beds, right, for its 22 million populations. Now, here's the problem. Remember in my last live on Tuesday, I shared with you a high-ranking government official whose family member died, and he said he controls a large number of resources in Beijing, and he considered himself the top 1% of the social status within Beijing, right? So let's assume 1%. Let's say the high-ranking government officials, 1% of that, of the 300,000 elderly patients are high-ranking government officials, because high-ranking government officials are mostly likely over 60 years old. I mean, they're not young. So let's just say 1%, and 1%, that's 3,800. So I did a lot of numbers, right? I don't know if you could follow me, but my point is Xi Jinping does not have enough ICU beds for all the high-ranking government officials, uh, who have COVID, who require immediate medical attentions. And I'm not even including their family, like their family. So, he does not have enough bed to take care of the high-ranking government officials and their families. And this is a serious problem for him. because we have already started to see, obituaries coming out from China, and uh, in the last day or two, and the highest one we've seen is a minister level official, and I think the rank will go higher and higher because the numbers talk, because government officials, they are older, right? So they are technically, elderly. So if you apply the numbers, and if you apply like 70% of them have already been infected, and then if you apply all the numbers, we're going to see a lot of obituaries. And it's not going to look very good for Xi Jinping. Either way, it's going to be pretty ugly. And today, we have seen news that traffic was blocked for an hour in front of the 301 hospital. And then people are asking which leader uh, got COVID, because there's like the traffic was shut down. There were a lot of um, police presence, you know, roads were closed. So people were saying, well, who got sick? Which top leader got sick? And there's even rumors. I mean, we can't verify that two of the Politburo Standing Committee members got sick. So you have seven people, right? The seven top guys, and they say two are sick with COVID, and people say maybe that's why the that hospital was closed, for the traffic to the hospital was closed for 1 hour. Um, so these are the few events that have happened. I mean, Xi Jinping lately have made a couple of compromises, right? He ended zero COVID. He made a U-turn on the economy. He gave his political enemy, Jiang Zemin, a high-profile state funeral. Uh, and then with everything that's happening in China, with people at the local level, right, in terms of the local government, and also regional level in terms of the military, causing troubles for him from time to time, I think these things are keeping him sleepless at night. I think we should keep a close eyes on the development in China, because if you just look at the obituaries that have been coming out in China, it's like every day, there are people dying. So we don't know how that's going to affect the CCP, the regime, and Xi Jinping's power. So with that said, we should keep watching, and it should be an it should be an eventful winter. All right, so I finished my presentation, and let's see what people have for me. Okay. Why not CCP plan to distract from William Warren? Why not CCP plan to distract from COVID death? Well, they have not publicly acknowledged COVID death. The information I shared with you was an internal meeting that talked about the outbreak. I don't think that information was meant for the public, so I don't think the media will report it. It's a internal meeting minutes to be shared within the government officials, but even so, it did not talk about the fatality rate. It did not talk about how many people died, because I think it's too sensitive for the regime. So yeah. From Rob Hulk, how might that question? How might Ming Chi Kuo act as a go-between to help mitigate the COVID situation? You're talking about the analyst who, who comments on Apple's supply chain a lot, right? If I remember your question correctly, um, I did remember your questions from previous sessions. I think he's based in Taiwan. Apple does not like its suppliers to talk about supply chain issues related to Apple products. So they rarely, companies like Foxconn and other Taiwanese suppliers don't talk about, issues related to Apple. But I think this guy is based in Taiwan, and I think he has the geographical advantage. So he does release information from time to time about Apple's supply chains, and people say some of his, some of his insights are very valuable, but people also say he is not always right. I don't follow Apple that closely, so I can't really say if his analysis or insights are or accurate or not. But that's what I got from William Warren. CCP death matters. Regular Chinese do not, right? Um, well, CCP. Well, what do you mean by CCP death? Because CCP has what? It claims it has 80 million party members. So that's a big number, right? Um, I mean, that's the sad part. Well, what is CCP? I mean, CCP is not like an abstract organization. It's made up of its members. So it has, if it has 85 million or 90 million members, um, it's sad. I'm sure there's some good people, within that 90 million people. Not everyone believe in communism, or not everyone has done terrible things. But if they're all punished, then it's sad. So um, I think, yeah. So CCP is made up of the 90 million party members. Okay, Vanket, thank you. Merry Christmas. Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone. All right. Is China heading towards civil war? I don't think so, because um, I think it's unlikely. But that's a big discussion in itself. Um, yeah, and then, oh yeah, because of the shortage, because of the because of the shortage of medical supply in Beijing, I read that the central government in Beijing is moving medical professionals from the regional cities to Beijing to help them. And also the OTC drugs, Tylenol and ibuprofen. Some of the manufacturers said that they wonder where all the medications went, because they have been producing some and they just disappear. So people suspect that the government has been consolidating these supplies and send them to Beijing, and really make sure that all the big shots in Zhongnanhai or in Beijing got their share of medication or medical supplies. So yeah, I think, in a totalitarian society, the CCP leaders are always given the priority over ordinary citizens when it comes to resources and medical services. All right. It's the holidays, so I don't want to take too much time from you. I think this is a lot of information. And with all that, I will see you next time. Okay, everyone have a great holidays. Okay, bye bye.